Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of the Empowered Performance Podcast. Today, we have a guest, Megan Urban. She is a CrossFit coach in the same town as me. And she also recently had a baby. Congratulations.
You?
So, if you're willing to just tell us about your business, how you got into CrossFit, we can start with that, and then maybe we can get to the pre and postpartum stuff after.
Yeah, totally. So, we just connected a little bit on how we got to Berryville. So,
Hmm.
my husband and I, we got married in 2021, moved down to Charleston, and then realized that we love Charleston, but all of our families back up
Hmm.
here. So we ended up buying a house in Berryville. And I had been coaching down in Charleston. Technically, I'm a certified athletic trainer, so I don't know if you know
Okay.
what that is. So that's more actually, like, on the medical side. So, like, you're
Hmm.
watching NFL Sunday, you see somebody get hurt, somebody runs out there. Like, that's what I
Hmm.
do. That's what I did.
Hmm.
So I more so worked on the sports side, the medical side, the rehab, diagnosing injuries and stuff like that. Once my husband and I had gotten married and moved to Charleston, I didn't really know how to take that down there. There was colleges and there was
Hmm.
high schools and stuff like that that I could get a job, but I just wasn't really sure that I wanted to go into that setting, and so I was kinda
Hmm.
like, "I don't know what to do," but I found this gym, and I was like, "I don't know, I just got into CrossFit recently, so I'm gonna, like, see if they'll take me on as, like, a coach or something," and I, like, just kinda out on a whim messaged the guy, and he was like, "Sure, come in for an interview," and then basically I started coaching, from that moment and just, like, fell in love with it. So
Hmm.
their gym wasn't, like, a full-on CrossFit gym, it was kind of
Okay.
like I don't wanna say knockoff CrossFit because I actually prefer it to, like, straight up CrossFit. That kinda
Sure.
sounds fun, but anyways, I coached there for, the entirety of while I lived in Charleston, and then when we got back up in Berryville, I noticed that there, like, wasn't really much except for the Anytime Fitness in town, and I was
Yep.
like,
Yep.
I feel like this town could use a little bit of something. And
Hmm.
then Josh and I created our home gym and mostly we just decked it out for ourselves. But I was like,
Hmm.
I wonder if I could just like have a couple clients come to the house. And then I just got like one that was like a friend. And then like just by word of mouth, people were like, hey, are you like doing this? And I was like,
Hmm.
I guess so. So then we had to go through the whole process with the town, which was wild. But
Hmm.
that's kind of the whole roundabout way of like we got back here and I just kind of did it more as like a passion thing that became into like this. It's not even full. I mean, it was full time before I had my kid Ben, but up now it's just part time. But that's the great thing about like my job is that I can take it and fill my schedule or I can really narrow it down to like the bare minimum. So
You have the freedom, yeah, which is
yeah,
nice.
yeah. That's kind of
Yeah.
a scatterbrained explanation.
I'm sure that let's go back to the athletic training thing real quick. I'm sure that lends itself to CrossFit training, because you can look at it from different angles. I had a guest on the podcast, and she was a doctor of physical therapy. She's
Mhm.
also a strength coach, and she was saying that she also had a background in neurology, in
Wow.
neuroscience and all that stuff, so she, like, understood everything, and she's like she wanted to be a neurologist, if I'm not mistaken, and then she said that, she's like, "Ooh, I don't know if I wanna do this," and she went into kinesiology and, all that stuff, and she's saying, "Man, like, I wasted all this time, like, they don't relate," and then she's like, "Oh, actually, no, the nervous system is pretty darn important for just, like, pain and rehab and all that stuff," and so it's I actually find it's like a superpower. If people actually have, like, a really wide base, then you don't have to necessarily be a specialist. Your specialty is connecting dots where other people won't see it because they don't have as wide of a base, so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the way, like, you explain that as, like, the wide base, like, just knowing, like
Mhm.
and I feel like that's, like, kind of CrossFit too, like, because
Sure.
CrossFit, you don't specialize in one thing. You would do
Mhm.
all the things okay. And if you do all the things okay, then you're actually good at the sport. So that's what I kind of like to think about like this profession too is like you have all that knowledge and then have the ability to go deeper into subjects. So like if I have a client that has like some type of medical condition that I don't know much about, it's like, okay, well
Yeah.
now I'm going to deep dive into that and be able to like better help them.
Mhm.
But that's yeah, that's really cool. I think the athletic training thing definitely gives me a better perspective because I worked in a rehab clinic right out of school
Mhm.
and I didn't like it because it
Mhm.
was so boxed in and you had to do certain things to be able to take insurance. And I was like, we're doing these people a disservice because we're required to give them treatment that they don't need. And what they
Mhm.
really need is exercise and in a different
Mhm.
capacity than what we can provide here. And so now I can take what I know and what I've learned and bring it into my own gym. And so if
Mhm.
somebody's like, hey, I can't come today, like I hurt my back over the weekend, I'm like, you need to come in today because
Yes.
I can help you and
Mhm.
movement medicine and it's actually going to make you better if you come in. So I do think that all of those things go really nicely hand in hand. And
Mhm.
similarly to your other guest, I started as like a nursing major
Mhm.
very quickly found out that's not for me. But
Yeah.
I'm able to help people like medically, which is what, better their lives, get out of pain. And that's kind of like, I think where that nursing desire came from was just to help people. But now I
Mhm.
do, uh, it's
Yeah,
almost preventative healthcare, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And so training and rehab to me are just cousins. It's the same spectrum. It's just at different stages. And I tell people that rehab to me is just training in the presence of pain. So you can
yes,
either train around the injury. It doesn't make sense. Like, let's say I hurt my left leg. Um, some people say, "Oh, I shouldn't train the right leg. I don't want like a strength deficit or like an imbalance between sides." It's like, okay, so you want your right leg to get as bad as your left leg. Like that doesn't make any sense. If I hurt my left leg for 3 months and I don't train anything else, it all gets weaker. Then I hurt my right leg for 3 months, then my right arm, then my left arm. But if you just train everything else in the meantime, you can still stay strong. There's also uh, um, cross education. I'm sure you're aware of this, but you can train one limb and the uninjured limb is still going to gain or there's gonna be a benefit from it, like a neurological
yes,
benefit. And
yep,
then the other thing too is you can also directly attack the injured area just up to whatever the level is at that time. So about a year ago, I've told this story a couple times on my podcast. I snapped my MCL,
oof,
and so like they said it was supposed to be 3 months of recovery before I'm cleared to start like doing all the other stuff. And I was like, the knee needs to move, and I got basically 95% recovered in 2 months because I just focused on what I could do, even if it's 20% of what I could do before, I just ran with it, and I was like, even if it was I have a bike, just doing the bottom half of the rotation just to try to get some sort of knee mobility and keep doing that until I can do the full rotation, and then just spamming that, getting blood flow, TKEs, I did that to death. I
yep,
did, like, basically everything you can possibly do, and yet, like, it did not take too long until my right leg was as strong as my left leg, on, like, a leg extension and a leg curl, for example, and, I'm like, "Alright, I feel pretty good to go," and so that's kinda the idea is I wish people would understand that pain is kind of inevitable. You shouldn't
yeah,
seek it out, of course, but you also shouldn't fear it so much that you think anytime you're in pain, you should just lay in bed and never do anything. So I like what you're saying about get in the gym, let's work on it, and sometimes it helps heal people faster, or it just kind of empowers them to know that it's not the end of the world, you can still live life.
yes. 100%. And I think I'm really glad that you're able to like enact that in your daily life. I'm really
Mhm.
good at telling people, but whenever
Yeah.
something happens to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah, it's the
terrible.
end of the world.
I
Yeah.
like text my friend who's a physical therapist and I'm like, "Please help me. I think I hurt myself. Like, what do I
Uh-huh.
do?" And she's like, "Megan, you know this." And I'm like, "But I don't actually know it, like, for myself." Like, it's just very different, like,
Sure,
for yeah, but it's
sure.
but it's helpful to have, like, that, like, community to help you, like, talk through it, especially people that, like I'm like, "You're a doctor, so you can tell me."
Well, it's that thing, it's like, does a barber cut his own hair? Do they go to a different barber? It's that kinda thing,
Right.
so yeah. It
Yes.
is hard to take your own advice. Sometimes if I'm, like, writing a program for myself, I'll overthink it, but I don't overthink it for a client, I think just the right amount. So I
Yep.
almost have to write a program for a client who's my build, my age, my goals,
Yep.
and for whatever reason, I can write that program a lot better. It's a really confusing kind of, like, mental game,
That's funny,
training
'cause I don't
yourself.
program for myself because I'm the
Yeah,
same way. I can't. I'm like,
yeah,
because it's the same thing, like, when I program for clients, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, she could really use this, or they could really use this," and then
yeah.
I think to myself and I'm like, "I know what I need, but I don't
It's
wanna."
not fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
wanna
like,
do it, yeah,
I'm just gonna find somebody else to do it.
yeah. So let's talk about CrossFit real quick. For
Yep.
people who don't know what it is, it's pretty popular. I feel like most people do know what it is. But how would you describe to someone who's never heard of CrossFit?
Oh my gosh, okay, well, there's definitely a definition that I should, like, probably know.
Uh-huh.
Basically, it's like CrossFit is like cross training, right? Like, you hit a little
Right.
bit of everything. So it has your cardio, it has endurance, it has weightlifting, Olympic lifts, it has high intensity, a bunch of different crazy gymnastics moves.
Mhm,
It's everything all in one, all the things, all the time.
mhm,
And I discovered that from my sister. My sister was dating a guy back in the day who did CrossFit, and I was like, "You're crazy. That injures you. I don't know what you're doing." And then a couple years later, she was still doing it, and I was like, "Okay, should I try this out?" And then she took me to a class, and I think the first class I did, I wanna say it was like, I don't know, like rowing and
mhm.
box jumps and like something gymnastics, and I was like, "What is going on?" Like, it felt like just pure chaos,
Yeah,
but I loved it because it was really hard, and then when you're done, everyone, like, is like, "Great job." I was like, "This feels like sports," and I played sports.
sure.
It just was really fun. So, CrossFit is a little bit of everything that you can
Mhm,
possibly of it's involved in the sport, like, even swimming is a part of it.
mhm. So it's interesting because there's like CrossFit's kind of a like you love it or hate it kind of thing.
Mhm.
I'm from a sports performance background, and a lot of people kind of demonize and say it's bad because high rep box jumps or keeping pull ups or doing snatches for volume and all that stuff. and I can understand some of the arguments against it. And at the end of the day, there's some strength and conditioning coaches, who aren't even strength and conditioning coaches because they just want to do the power lifts, maybe get a pump and all that stuff. So they'll do powerlifting, bodybuilding, but then they don't even care about conditioning. They don't focus on speed. They don't focus on power. They don't focus on just general athletic qualities. Like gymnastics is super underrated. If you can control your own body weight, that's a remarkable thing. So they want their athletes to be like CrossFitters, but don't want to blend all the styles together, maybe because they're uncomfortable teaching it. But there
Yeah.
is value in being able to have, like we talked about earlier, just from a training perspective, a wide base in terms of knowledge as a trainer. It's the same thing with a movement perspective. We all say that being a multi-sport athlete is great because then you can pick up other skills quickly. CrossFit is essentially everything. And like, yeah, you're not going to be the number one, power lifter or weightlifter or the fittest person, all that stuff, but you're going to be better than, 99% of the population. If we're talking general population, as far as athletes, I've never seen a competitive CrossFitter that's like really weak and slow and all those different things. And as long as they can learn the skill of any sport, they have the physical advantages to kind of run with it.
Right, right. And I think one like about CrossFit that like some people just may not know just like because of lack of education. Like if you're a true CrossFit like CrossFit headquarters
Mhm,
like facility or affiliate,
mhm,
they always preach quality movement, right?
mhm,
So you get the movement standards down and then that's when you add in the volume and the intensity. So
mhm,
until you have like the standard of movement to what they want it to look like. They
mhm,
will not add reps, they will not add weight, you have to do it body weight and you have to perfect it.
mhm,
Now, when you walk into just like your average Joe CrossFit affiliate, maybe not all the coaches will hold you to that standard,
mhm,
or maybe you just get caught up in the moment and you just start throwing weight on your bar. Like, that's on you because,
mhm.
your coach should be coaching you, but also you should know yourself and not just be like ego lifting there as well.
Sure.
So I think it gets like the bad rap because one, some of the coaches aren't holding you to the standard, and then
Mhm.
two, your ego just gets in the way. So I don't think that CrossFit is bad. I think that just like any sport, you can get injured, just like any
Sure.
sport, wrong thing. Like sprinting is like, come on, hamstring injuries and sprinting, let's be
Oh,
real.
yeah. Yeah, it's insane.
All the time if you don't warm up
Yeah.
properly or if you haven't sprinted in 10 years and you're like, I'm just gonna go sprint. Okay, well, good luck. Like your hamstring's gonna be ripped. So
Sure.
like it kind of comes on to you as well to be like wise in your decisions too. So at first I always thought like originally like CrossFit was gonna be like terrible. And then I started it and I
Mhm,
was like, oh no, you just have to be smart about the way that you move
mhm.
and how you progress yourself. But that's like literally anything in life and any sport and
Sure.
any like any way that you work out.
So I have a YouTube and I posted like a clip of me doing a Jefferson curl. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's just
Oh,
like,
I
yeah, yeah. And so like people will see the Jefferson curl and I'll get comments like that's bad for your back. And then I just have to respond. I'm just like, okay, well, let's talk about this for a second. If I touch my toes with no weight, would anyone say that's bad for my back? And no one would say it's bad for my back. If I add a 2.5 pound plate in my hands, is that bad for my back? No. If I had a 300-pound bar and I haven't trained that movement, is that bad for my back? Yes. But what's the threshold? Are we doing it intelligently? Progressive overload, for anyone who doesn't know what it is, it's just a concept of adding a little bit of volume, intensity, speed, whatever you want, just a little bit of difficulty on a consistent basis, just as tiny little gains, and they add up over a long period of time. And so if I just start with a 5-pound dumbbell and I work to a 10-pound dumbbell, 15-pound dumbbell, it's not bad for my back. I'm building resiliency. And guess what? That actually makes my back better than your back if you never actually train any resiliency whatsoever. So it's bad for your back, not bad for my back, because I've built up, kind of appropriately over time. But it's just funny how there's I don't know where this comes from, this kind of fear mongering around training. Yeah, a snatch looks scary and dangerous, and it could be, but if you build up the technique and the volume and the intensity, like you say, over time, it's not so bad. It
right.
probably is more dangerous to just sprint cold, which a lot of people will do. Thanksgiving, you have people like families, everyone gets in a line and sprint and they all drop to the ground. And it's like, but that's the same thing with progressive overload. I have some clients that they want to sprint with their kids. They haven't sprinted in a long time. I want to teach them how to sprint. We're going to start small. We're going to start with, maybe even just some tempo runs, 70,
Yep.
80%. Maybe if you want to actually add some accelerations, you do short distances, maybe do on a hill or you do like band resist or something like that. But like, we're not going to do full velocity sprinting over 100 yards right off the bat because that's
Right.
a recipe for disaster. And you have to strengthen all the tissues that are likely to get pulled, your hamstring, your groin, all those things. So,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. It just feels like, I wish this narrative got out there more. I'm glad we're having this conversation, telling people you can do dangerous things. You just have to build up the tolerance and the resiliency to be able to do that.
Yeah. 100%. Yes. Yeah.
Cool. So, just going in a slightly different direction, you do have to scale. You personally have to scale your exercise now because you had a baby. And if we're talking about physical changes and stresses, I don't know that there's a greater physical stress that a human being can go through.
Yeah.
So what would you say are the main considerations someone who let's start with pregnant before we
Mhm.
do postpartum. How would you recommend someone goes about training as they start to get, the bigger belly, they have all these issues going on?
Ooh, I mean, now you've seen this firsthand, right, with your
Mhm.
wife, which is insane to be able to witness it and to see,
Mhm.
like, wow, you're growing a human, and you go and you get your first ultrasound, and, like, you hear a heartbeat, and you're like,
It's
"Whoa,
crazy.
this is nuts." It's like
Mhm.
goosebumps. I, like, cried the first time, it was great. So, here's the thing. If anyone listens to this and you're not pregnant and you're a woman, and you do have the desire to get pregnant,
Mhm.
get fit now, because
Uh-huh.
that is the best thing for yourself throughout pregnancy. If I didn't have the base of fitness that I had, I literally don't know how people go through pregnancy without
Mhm.
being able to like do a 20-inch box step up with a 35-pound dumbbell. It being pregnant is insane. But if you are pregnant, start moving as long as it's
Mhm.
okay with your doctor. Obviously, get that cleared with your doctor first. But it changed a lot. So it's actually funny because right before I got pregnant, I went through a couple of like health things that I was like, I don't know if we're going to be able to get pregnant. And then I got worried and they were like, we got to try. And then we got
Mhm.
pregnant right away, which is such a blessing. But I had been rehabbing right before. So I had really scaled down right before I got pregnant. And then
Mhm.
I got pregnant. And then I was like, well, now I don't want to lose my fitness. I really want to mitigate as much as I can. So
Uh-huh.
then I was like, now I need to get back into training. And so I'm like, couple weeks pregnant, like trying to train. I'm like
Mhm.
lightheaded. I'm nauseous. I can't figure it out. So I kind of have an interesting story because normally I would just be like, just do what you can. Like
Mhm.
keep your content, like continue your fitness as you would have and then modify. So if things start to like feel funny or don't feel good or you start to get lightheaded, stop doing it. Like
Mhm.
just don't do the things that you feel like are making you feel bad, right? Like that's like if you're in pain, don't do the thing that hurts. Just do all
Mhm.
the other things that don't hurt. It's the same thing with pregnancy for me. But I had been rehabbing, so I just kind of was in a tricky spot. But I found this app that is run by a doctor of physical therapy, and she specializes in pelvic floor stuff. And I ended up just following her app throughout the entirety of my pregnancy and then even postpartum just as of like 4 weeks ago I had been doing it so for probably what that's like a year of doing her programming.
Uh-huh.
It was just like a lot of strength training, that kind of thing, but I did CrossFit periodically as well because I really enjoy CrossFit.
Mhm.
Things just started to kind of peter out like the gymnastics stuff. um Olympic lifts ended up going away after a while because my stomach got in the way.
It's hard to keep a tight bar path. Sure.
Yeah, exactly, and then, like, my clean, it was, like, all the way around, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Ah,
yeah.
this is bad muscle memory, I'm gonna put this one aside," so I would just,
Uh-huh.
like, switch to dumbbells,
Mhm.
but yeah, so up until, like, I would say the last 8 weeks of my pregnancy, things got pretty tough physically, and so I would show up to the gym, but my workouts would look very different than all
Mhm.
the other people in the class, and then towards the last, like, 4 weeks, I was just walking because I couldn't get myself in the gym. I don't know if that answers your question because also one thing that happens postpartum is you have one functioning brain cell
Uh,
where you remember nothing
uh-huh.
and you go on these tangents and then you end up like, I don't know where I started. So did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think you did, yeah. We were talking about how you, changed things, when you were pregnant, and then, yeah,
Perfect.
postpartum as well. You said the one brain cell, which makes me laugh because my wife says she has 2, so once she has the baby, she'll go down to her last one,
Yes.
but, that's
Yes.
funny. So along those lines, postpartum, what would you recommend? What is the major thing someone has to think about? And they say the first 6 weeks, you're supposed to not do too much. How did
Yeah.
you approach that?
Yes. So I totally misjudged postpartum because
Mhm.
I was a competitive athlete, right?
Uh-huh.
Like I would do competitions, I would train 2 plus hours a day. I was like, recovery for me is gonna be fine. I was like, I know I just pushed a baby out, but I'm gonna be good.
Uh-huh.
And so I think like the first and everybody's different. So take that like this is my story. So it doesn't
Sure.
just because everyone's gonna have a different experience. But like day 2 of being home from the hospital, I was like, let's go for a walk. And it was like a waddle, right? Like I'm waddling down the street, like I'm
Yeah.
not walking fast. But I got home and then one thing that they say is like, if your bleeding increases postpartum, like
Mhm.
that's a sign that like you did too much.
Yeah.
And I was things were showing me that I had done way too much.
Sure.
And I was like, I literally walked 2 houses down, 2 houses back. I was like, that was my walk.
Mhm.
But I had overdone it. And then I was like, okay, well, should I try again? Like maybe it's like the progressive overload, right? Like see if
Mhm.
I have the same stimulus, like trying to like game it a little bit. Don't game it when you're healing. So like I should have just taken and been like 2 weeks nothing. Couch potato, snuggle
Yeah,
up with corn, relax. After 2 weeks, I would probably would be like, "Okay, now you can lay down on the ground, do your breathing, like your, whatever, like pelvic floor control, whatever you wanna do, like that kinda
sure.
thing." I think I just was like, I thought that I was gonna be fine, and then I overdid it, and then I scared myself, and then I really started to underdo it
Mhm.
instead of just like this slow progressive thing. And it's funny because 'cause I'm a coach, right? Like, I should know this, but
Yeah.
again, I
Or
I can't.
people.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't be my own coach, so I had a hard time getting back into it, but then after a couple of complications postpartum, I had to go back to the doctor a couple of times, everything was fine, but it just kind of delayed my healing a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, so I feel like I got back into working out and then had to take a step back and then kinda got back into it, and then I would say, like, as of, like, 4 weeks ago, so that was, I guess, when Ben was, like, 4 months old,
Mhm.
I really feel like I was able to, like, ramp it back up to normal. Nothing feels normal. Everything feels really heavy and really weird, and I
Mhm.
like, my stomach is still not normal. But I do feel like I'm able to, like, jump the intensity back to where it was, which is
Yeah.
really encouraging. Um, just because you don't realize, like, postpartum, not only is your body healing, I'm full-time breastfeeding,
Mhm.
and also, like, nighttime sleep is still not great. So
Sure.
you put all those things together, and it's like, you really have to be diligent about when you're choosing to train, how you're choosing to train, because I am not the priority in my life right now. It's my
Yeah.
kid, that he's well fed and he's well rested. So,
Mhm.
like, today I wanted to work out. I got 15 minutes of yoga in and I was like, I moved my body and that's a
It's a
win.
win. It is a win.
Yeah. And normally I would get super frustrated and be like, I
Mhm.
didn't get my workout in. Like, I got to get it. But now I know, like, it's just do what you can.
So, I can't relate exactly to what you're saying, but about 2 years ago, we got a puppy, and, it was really hard to, like, take a second away from him without him tearing up the house, and we don't wanna, leave him in a crate or in, like, a playpen all the time. Um, so my wife and I had to, like one had to watch while the other person had to exercise or do whatever chore it had to be. So it was, like, on constant watch, and it felt like it's a little bit of practice for what I imagine a kid would be like. But,
Totally.
I got into, like, kettlebells just because I was like, "Alright, well, they're mostly full body movements, you can do circuits pretty quickly. I can set a timer for 15 minutes, pick 3 or 4 movements, and then just try to get as many rounds in as I can within
Yep.
those 15 minutes." And is it the greatest stimulus of all time? No, but, like, when people a good kettlebell guy will tell you that it's not the best at any one thing, but it's kinda like
Yep.
CrossFit in that sense where it's like you can get a lot done. You may not be the best weightlifter, the best, strongman, the best anything, but you're still gonna be better than if you did nothing at all.
Yeah.
And then kind of along those lines too, I had another guest on the show. He has a 2-year-old now. I was asking him, "What should I be expecting when I have a kid and training and all that?" And he says, "Take whatever time you have." And he said, "Sometimes walks as a family are the best you can do, and that's a win," just like you were saying, or 15 minutes yoga or whatever you can possibly do, but you just have to adjust. The sleep thing is a huge thing because I preach that for recovery. I say sleep and nutrition are the 2 biggest things for recovery.
Yep.
I feel a huge difference if I'm doing anything fast or heavy and I've had 5 hours of sleep or 8 hours of sleep. It is insane. And sometimes if I have a workout and I have a little break in the day, if I can take a 1-hour nap before that workout, I know it saves the workout, by a pretty drastic amount. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of preparing for the fact that I might not be able to push the volume or intensity that high.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's nice. He was saying I hope this doesn't, kinda scare you or anything like that, but he said when they're 2 is even harder to get your workouts in because then they can figure out how to climb out of the playpen, and then,
Yep.
like, you really can't take your eyes off of them, so,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. We have a playpen that we'll have in the gym. We also have a swing that's connected to the rig in the gym, so we'll take
Okay,
him
cool.
and he's locked in, but yeah,
Cool.
once he starts moving, it's gonna be, like, all hands on deck during the
Sure,
workouts, for especially for, like, his safety too, right? Because we've
sure.
got barbells and dumbbells everywhere that he could just, like, get into.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have, clients that have, kids, around when they're working out and all that stuff, and, like, my big fear is heavy kettlebell swing, kid walks right behind them or in front of them, and you can't stop a kettlebell that's swinging at full speed or anything like that just on a dime. So
yeah,
either the kid gets hurt or the parent gets hurt, sacrificing themselves to not hurt the kid, all
yeah,
that kind of stuff, or, like, animals will be around and all that. But it's also the balance is I think you do want your kid to see you exercising so they can learn those healthy habits, learn that, like, it's something that they should be doing.
yeah,
Um it's easy with the job that we have to say that everybody should train and move their bodies. A financial advisor would say everyone should have a financial advisor, whatever. You're always gonna think that your job is the most important, everybody should be doing it, you're kinda disappointed when someone doesn't. I don't necessarily have that mentality, but I just think, like, you have one vessel for your soul, you might as well take care of it, that kinda concept,
yeah,
and, you're like, I've seen people in better health and in worse health. In worse health, they're not as happy as people from, my experience, and when they're in better health, they wanna, go out and, do more things and spend more time with their kids, for example, they have better energy and all that stuff, so sometimes it does seem selfish to take the time for yourself, but I feel like it really is an investment for everybody else in your life. Um, so
100%.
so it's if you can't really get the kid separated from the gym, you can try to hopefully, like you're saying, find a safe way that they can be in the gym. But then,
Yeah.
yeah, if you're doing a max snatch and the kid's right next to you, that's, a little
Yeah.
risky. So,
Yeah. That's when you have to use your common sense. The one
yeah,
brain I have is
yeah,
safety.
yeah, well, that's the main focus, right? You have one brain cell, and it's all locked in on your kid, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, I was gonna ask along those lines as well. Okay, this is my favorite question that I get to ask people. With your job, what feels like a touchdown? Like, what is the thing that gets you going the most?
Oh my gosh. When people follow through, like, with okay, and this is not to, like, puff me up, right? Because, like, this is just, like, scientific evidence. Like, you
Mhm,
probably tell your clients the same thing that I tell my clients. Like, it's not the gospel. It's just, like, what we tell people, and if they
mhm,
follow through with it and they get the results, like, that's when I feel excited, is when somebody I'm like, "Hey, like, this is what we need, a little bit more movement," or, like, "Here's where your protein goal should be." And they're
mhm,
like, "I ate all that protein, and guess what? I didn't crave sweets that night." And I'm like,
that's
yes, because you gave your body what it needs.
yep,
And so start to put things together themselves, and they're becoming more independent. Like, my goal is not to have people like cling to me forever. Like, I
yeah,
want them in, and then for them to be independent and living it and doing all the things like by themselves. And so when they start to get those little nuggets of like, I went for a walk and I like hit my step count and I'm so proud. And now I'm telling people about it and we're doing this group. I'm like, yes. So anytime like they show like success and progress forward, but also just like actual like habitual changes in their life, like
mhm.
that is the biggest win to me, is like seeing them get excited and motivate themselves.
Mhm. I agree with you. My business is called Empower Performance. That word wasn't an accident. Um, the idea is that you wanna teach people that they can do it. And I think the goal of being a coach is to basically do so well that no one needs to train with you. I know that sounds kinda weird. It's, like, not a
Yeah.
good business model, but if you teach people how to exercise intelligently, that they can do it on their own, or how to eat soundly. I don't wanna be mean, but, like, don't eat like a child, You don't you
Right.
don't need, Cheetos on your salad or something like that, So, but,
Yes.
anyway, but along those lines, it's you just so, yeah, I agree, it's those big wins. I also have this, like, little saying that whatever your first goal is, it's probably my second goal, in the sense
Yeah.
that a lot of people say, "Oh, I gotta get my butt bigger, I gotta get my arms bigger, I gotta get my stomach smaller, I gotta get this, that, the other." It's like, okay, well, in the pursuit of that, if you feel terrible, if you hate exercise, if your body feels broken down and all that stuff, but you lost the 10 pounds that you needed to lose or something like that, or we're starving you, then like I did not do my job. My priority is for you to like feel healthy and feel happy and feel confident in your body and all that stuff. And
Yes.
then whatever your goal is, let's chase it. You want to get a sick bicep pump? Cool. You want to get like a six pack? Cool. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. But not at the expense of like your overall health and well being because at the
Right.
end of the day, like a body that looks cool is cool, but a body that can actually do stuff, that's really cool. I train, I know it sounds weird to say, not because I love training, and I eat healthy not because I love eating healthy. It's because it affords me the ability to do other things which I think are cooler. So, like, sports performance is like, I just care about doing the sport better. I hate feeling tired in sports. I hate feeling slow in sports, weak in sports.
Yeah.
So I train to avoid the bad stuff, which I know doesn't sound super wholesome. It's the same thing. It's like, yeah, I can my wife likes to bake. I tell her don't bake too much because I don't have the best restraint with that. It's like if I eat like a dozen cookies, I don't feel good, and I'll eat like an apple just so that I don't eat the cookies. Like it's that kind of thing. It's not like I don't want the cookies. I do, and then I feel terrible. So it's like more avoidance of the bad stuff.
Yeah.
So
That's me with I don't drink because I literally
yep,
feel terrible after I drink.
yeah,
During, have so much fun. Afterwards, trash. So like I mean, I've had like a sip of alcohol here and there. Like I wouldn't consider myself like completely sober, but like I guess this does include pregnancy as well. Yes. But even prior to that, like Josh and I just like we just don't drink because I feel terrible. So I
mm,
understand. I won't say no to cookies though, or ice cream.
cookies are tough. Yeah, and my wife has like these secret recipes. She makes kitchen sink cookies where she puts all the unhealthy stuff in there. It's hard to say no, so I just try to convince her not to, but
Yeah.
it's one of her things that she really enjoys because she says she has, like, complete control over the entire process with baking and measuring. I was like so she's, I know this isn't really the scope of the podcast, but I make fun of her for being an old woman because she likes, stationery and calligraphy and I'm just like, "What the heck?" Like, so anyway, but there's something cool about being boring. You get to be healthy, like, yeah, you
Yeah.
don't you don't go do drugs and party and all that stuff, and, like, you don't get the cool stories, but it's like, I don't know, I think it's pretty cool waking up and not having a pounding headache or, like, feeling in total pain or anything like that,
Yeah.
so,
Yes, 100%.
huh. I was gonna ask as well, if you had any advice for anybody that wanted to let's do a two-part question, get to where you got athletically when it comes to training. Let's say they're a total beginner and they've never trained a day in their life. They wanna be able to do some of the cool stuff that you've been able to do.
Mhm.
What's your suggestion? How should they get started? How should they go about training?
Find a coach.
Okay.
Find a coach that you have vetted to ask questions of like, is it possible for me to get to this place? Or like, do you feel comfortable getting me to this place? I feel like having a coach is your fast track. You can do it by yourself because I mean, in college, I started working out just by saving workouts on my profile on Instagram from
Uh-huh,
this girl that I just like randomly found.
uh-huh,
And that's how I started working out. But then once I got like into CrossFit and actually had like now a CrossFit coach isn't like a one-on-one coach. So was it the fastest track? No, but I still had somebody that knew me and held me accountable. But they were able to step aside during class and teach me things. So
uh-huh,
having that accountability and having somebody to like help lead and guide you, um, is like the best way to do it, I think personally, just
mhm.
because if you are holding yourself accountable, you can let yourself down and it's not that
Yeah,
big of a deal. But if somebody else is there, then you're going to let them down too.
yeah,
What a lot of my clients say is like, yeah, could I do this at home? Yes. Do I? No. So that's why I'm here. I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
uh,
So I would say find a coach, join a gym, find, a community that feels like it would be supportive of your goals. And just get started because something is better than nothing. Just like
mhm,
today, my 15 minutes of yoga is better than 0 minutes of anything. So even
agreed.
if it's a day, do it. Even if
Mhm,
what I say is like to my clients, I say like laughably achievable. What's laughably achievable for you to commit like to today? 5 air squats. Can you do that every single day? Great,
mhm,
do it. Just like prove it to me. Like show me you can do it. So just start, do something, pick it up, find a person, we're great resources. And if I like I can't take all my clients right now, so I'm sending them to you. Like
yeah, I
if I
appreciate that,
out, I know
yeah,
I just sent you another group of two.
yeah, I
Um,
saw, yeah.
Great. But yeah, just find a coach. I think that's like the best option for people is my opinion.
So you're crushing this, by the way, but you talked about the laughably what was the term you used? Laughably achievable?
Yeah.
Okay, so I like that. I don't use that term, but I share that concept. There's a TV show, I think it's called One Punch Man. I'm not huge into anime, but there's this guy on the internet who said that there's, like, the One Punch Man workout where he does, like, 100 squats, 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, and runs a mile, and he says, "I like this, I wanna do that every single day." But he said he was, like, 100 pounds overweight, and he's, like, maybe even more, and he's like, "I can't do this." So he's like, "Let me just do 1 push-up a day, 1 squat a day, 1 sit-up a day, and then, like, walk a mile." So he did the mile every single day at whatever speed he could, and then he just started with 1 of every single exercise, 1 rep of every exercise until he could do 2, until he could do 3, and then by the end of the year, he was able to do 100, and he said he lost, like, 100 pounds. Is it the
That's
smartest programming that's ever happened? No. Does it follow the idea of progressive overload? Yes. Does it follow the idea of consistency? Yes. So it's like, is it perfect? No. Are we really I hate this, like, optimal stuff that you see on the internet. It's not optimal, it's not worth doing. It is worth doing because something is better than nothing, and he did the
right.
something so well that he lost 100 pounds and changed his life forever. So, I like the idea of, like, laughably achievable because. Yeah, I mean, even if it's I can't remember which coach was saying this story, but he said he had a friend who had small calves, and then he saw him a year later, his calves are huge, and he's like, "What's your secret?" And he says, "Anytime I brush my teeth, I do calf raises until I'm done." Just for calf raises every single day, his calves blew up, so I like that kind of, what can you do?
Yeah.
Start with that, run with that, and you can build off that. I think that's
Yeah.
a really powerful lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a little habit stacking right there too as you're
Yep.
brushing your teeth. That's what I tell my clients who are like, I have terrible balance. I'm like, while you're brushing teeth, work on your balance.
Yeah, stand on one leg or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Um I was gonna say, okay, so the part 2 is, professionally. If someone wants to be able to do what you do, um, what would be your recommendation? How should they get into coaching or just training in general?
Honestly, my answer is gonna be very similar to the last one. It's find somebody, find a mentor for it because that's
Mhm,
what I did is I went out on a limb, reached out to James, and I was like, "Hey, will you teach me how to do what you're doing?" He's like,
mhm,
"Yeah." And he took me under his wing and he taught me everything. And I'm so thankful for that because now I have my own little business that I'm, changing my little corner of Berryville, which is super fun. So I mean, get like surround yourself, submerge yourself into the content that you want to learn.
mhm,
I used like just like a lot of Instagram, a lot of Facebook. Took a couple of different courses. But honestly, it's just finding somebody who's successful and then learning everything that you can from them and then just like taking what like you feel like fits you
Uh-huh.
and then go from there. I mean, I'm a huge advocate of like learning from other people because
Mhm.
they've already done it. So why like pave not like not copy them, but like why pave a new path when you don't necessarily need to? Find those pieces and then dive deep into like where you want to find your niche. But yeah, ask questions, get curious, and don't be afraid to like reach out to people. That's what I did.
I think the nice thing about that too is when you get to a certain point, somebody will start reaching out to you for help, and then you get to pay it forward, and, like, that's a big thing for me is, when I first started my business, there was someone who helped me grow it as well. She only trained women, so if a man ever reached out, she sent them to me and it helped me grow my business in the beginning, and I was like, "Why would you do this?" Like, I'm competition, we're in the same same
Yeah.
town and all that. She's like, "There's enough people that need training out there. I believe in building community, not competition." And I was like,
Yes.
"Wow, this is my first example of like, I could've come across another coach that's like, 'This guy sucks, don't work with him. I'm the
Yep.
best.'" Like, then that could've made me jaded, for example, and I was very fortunate the first person I came in contact with as a peer made me think, "Wow, this is a actually, it could be a really wholesome space, like, not toxic at all." And then that's what this podcast is great for is and get to highlight all the other awesome coaches. I get to learn from them. I get to build kinda lonely in this gym sometimes, just me. It's
Yeah.
nice to be able to, like, reach out to the big world out there, and I tell my wife too that, like, my friends aren't interested in this, so if I can make trainer friends who are interested in this, I have someone else that I can yap to. And so
Yes.
she's just
Yeah.
happy. I feel like a little kid coming home from school, like a kindergarten or something like that. I'm like, "Yeah, I made a friend. She likes T-Rexes. I like T-Rexes." So, but, no, it's
That's
a nice thing.
yeah.
Um I was gonna ask as well, we're gonna go in a slightly different direction. Is there any, trend that you're noticing in the CrossFit or let's say also the, pre and postpartum kinda training space that you think is, not it kinda gets on your nerves a little bit, kinda grinds your gears?
So, I'll be 100% transparent. I have been off of social media, and that's why I didn't respond to
So
you for
far.
a while. For not the entirety of postpartum, but just
Mhm.
like for a little bit, because that was hard for me. So another thing about postpartum is like your whole chemical brain changes.
Yeah.
So I take a step back. But
Mhm.
I would say that like one that I feel like has been more recent too is like there's two ends of the spectrum for postpartum. It's
Mhm.
like you could do anything you wanna do, and then the other side is like, "But you're gonna damage, like, your abs and your pelvic floor, so you can't do
Mhm.
anything." So, I being like I've also recently learned this about myself that I'm a perfectionist, and so
Uh,
so I wanna do everything perfect, apparently, which is impossible, just in
mhm.
case you're learning that. But it's like when I hear you can do anything, but then also other people are like, "Don't do it, like, the ab separation is terrible, like, if you
Mhm.
do the coning, the doming, you're, like, doing everything wrong. Stop what you're doing." And so there's a lot of, like, the fear-mongering, and then there's a lot of, like, the empowering and encouraging. And then when I hear all these things personally in my own journey, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, what am I supposed to do?" And first of all, it's like it goes back to, like, almost what I was saying about training during pregnancy. Like, if it feels good, do it. If
For
it
sure.
doesn't feel good, stop doing it. Your body is resilient. Your body is going to fight for you. It's not
Mhm.
fighting against you. Like, as long as you're supporting it with all of these other things, like, you're going to be okay. So continue on. So I would say, like, the fear mongering, I hate. I think that it's, there's wisdom in knowing, like, red flags or, like,
Sure,
okay,
caution.
yes, right,
Sure.
right. Like, but it I just hate when people are like, "That's wrong." Like the Jefferson curl thing, that
Yeah.
gets up again because 'cause I'm
Yeah.
like, "You're not you don't know what you're talking about. This is very beneficial." Like, so anytime that people are like, "You can't do this for X amount of time," I'm like, "But why?"
Mhm.
So I think the whole postpartum thing, it's just like all the information is very conflicting,
Sure.
uh, but I think it just yeah, I guess maybe that's what irks me is like the fear mongering aspect of almost anything, but particularly with postpartum, like the whole, like, coning and doming thing. There's just so
Yeah.
many conflicting and I'm not super educated, so I can't tell you what's right or what's wrong. Just listen to your doctor and listen to your body.
Well, so I think this is also a good opportunity to kind of preach the message of like finding balance in messaging. If you find the extremes, that probably not right. If someone says never bend your spine, that's probably not right. If they say bend your spine in all situations, any weight doesn't matter, that's probably not great either.
Right.
It's kind of going back to what you said. If you sprint, you haven't sprinted in forever, you're gonna, tear something, you're gonna pull something, right? You don't want to do that. But on the flip side, it doesn't mean you should never sprint for the rest of your life. Otherwise, you're bubble boy. You're just
Yeah.
like, I don't like the avoidance of exercise, but I also think that some people should exercise some level of caution. And there's a pretty big sweet spot. And you just have to not go like way overboard in either direction. I think you're fine. But yeah, the fear mongering, I'm not a fan of that. It definitely sells. Or you can sell. I hate bulletproofing. That's something I don't like because
Yeah.
injury is inevitable. We are living organisms. Um, it's just a part of life, but also, recovery is too. As long as you didn't do anything, like, really, really bad, like, you, got in a motorcycle accident, you're paralyzed, like, I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
But within that, like, the other thing too is, like, you say bulletproof, you do, I don't know, a tib raise, and now your shins are bulletproof, you'll never get shin splints again, or, like, I'm like, "Or no knee pain ever again." I'm like, "I don't know, like, someone shot you in the knee, I'm pretty sure you'd bleed, so it's not really bulletproof, is it?" You know? So, I
Yeah.
don't like that idea that, like, you can really prevent injury in all cases. I think you can become resilient to injury,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I think that's the messaging we should teach is that you can become resilient, you can avoid it. When it happens, you can still do stuff. And I think that's empowering and honest, which I think is doesn't sell as well, but I think it's important to put that messaging out there anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
On a more positive side, is there any kind of trend that you have been seeing either in the CrossFit space or the, like, postpartum space that you think is, healthy or you're happy to see?
I think so. How familiar are you with CrossFit
Uh,
or the
in terms
realm?
of the realm, like, well enough, but I mean, not like I watch the games every year.
Tia Claire Toomey?
Okay, no.
Okay, so she is like the 6 or 7-time fittest woman athlete.
Mhm.
She's won it like the CrossFit Games like a bajillion times. So,
Okay,
you'll have to look her up after this.
okay,
She's pregnant with her second baby.
okay.
And I think it's really, really cool and really, really encouraging to see what she's doing with like her pregnancies and postpartums and things because she is like now whether you can, look into whether or not like she's like just like this crazy athlete that's like really zeroed in and like maybe not prioritizing recovery. I don't know. But
Mhm.
it's just really cool to see her train throughout her pregnancy. And it's
Alright,
really cool to see like how quickly she got back to it after, after she had her first kid and just watching her through the second pregnancy because I feel like she's just like completely like exploring new territory and like changing the name of like pregnancy and postpartum, but also like she's a professional athlete. So
sure.
of course she's going to. So it's just been really cool to like kind of watch that and a couple of the other like CrossFit Games big names athletes like go through pregnancy recently and have their babies and stuff. It's just been really cool to see like that our bodies are capable of so much more than what we think.
Mhm.
And I feel like we're on the brink of like this new era of like postpartum athletes and like pregnant women. And just like the level of activity that you can actually maintain throughout is pretty cool. So it feels empowering
Yeah.
uh, to be able to see that, to know that like it is possible
I
within
think
reason. I
Yeah, I
feel
think of, Serena Williams, she won, like, a Grand Slam or something like that when she was, like, 4 or 5 months pregnant. I
yeah,
just think, like, everybody talks about the Michael Jordan flu game because he, like, played through the flu and, like, how could he have done that? And I'm like, "I don't know, how could you win a Grand Slam when you're pregnant?" Like,
right.
that to me is yeah, that's remarkable, so I do think it is cool to see those examples. Um, I'm grateful that I'm a man, I don't have to go through that. But, but yeah, it's
Benefit.
pretty
Well,
cool.
but, okay.
So, I don't wanna take up too much more of your time. I know that your son is probably gonna be fussy soon, but if
Yeah.
you were to plug yourself and your business and all that, where can people find you?
Oh, well, I've been kind of MIA, but you can always find me on Instagram, whether or not I'm on there all the time or not. But Urban Fitness Coaching. I have a website which I believe is up. We took it down during pregnancy because I wasn't taking on new people.
Mhm,
But yeah, I would say probably that. And then for any ladies that do listen, I do have a private Facebook group. It is called, I want to say just Urban Fitness.
mhm,
But if you follow me on Instagram, I could have, reach out to me and I could post it there. But I do have
mhm.
a private group that I post in just like tips, tricks, all the things in there, supporting women throughout our lives as we go through these different
That's
journeys.
awesome.
But yeah,
I wanna commend you for that too, because like, the community aspect of CrossFit is probably the most underrated aspect people don't think about too much and all that is that, yeah, I guess it could be bad if you're doing competition, you hurt yourself because you have to be the guy next to you. But on the flip side, like, if you're running your own race like you're talking about and you get to see the energy that everybody else has, it seems like it's a pretty empowering thing, and it just, like, it
yeah,
helps you to push yourself. I have these, clients, they're buddies, they train together. They're both 6'4", they're both, 200 plus pounds, they're both pretty strong, and, they train alone, they train hard, but when they train together, they always get that little bit extra. So there's the benefit to that.
one.
I was gonna ask one last thing as well. If you had any parting piece of advice that could be about anything, any subject, to any person, anything you wanna share?
I think I'll just stick with the laughably achievable. Like if you're looking to get started or you're afraid to get started, do one squat, one
Mhm,
sit up, one push up a day, and you'll be shocked where you are in a year from now. You don't have to go all in. And I think if you do go all in, you're not going to stick with it. So why not try something different that you've never done before, which seems stupid easy,
mhm.
but it should be stupid easy to start. So do the laughably achievable and continue to show up. That's it.
Do you have
But
merchandise?
was that?
you have any merchandise, like T-shirts or anything like that?
No, I literally it's so funny. Josh and I were talking about this last week.
Uh-huh.
We need to get some merch, and I've
Yeah.
literally had it open for, like, I don't even know, I wanna say going on 2 years, and no, I'm embarrassed.
You gotta do the laughably achievable as, like, a T-shirt or something like that. I
There you
promise we'll buy
go.
one if you make that, so
Good
that'd be
idea.
cool. I wanna thank you for your time, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, and it's
Well,
fine nice to finally meet
finally
you.
meet you, yeah. Well, thank you.
Thanks. Bye.